Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you a few dorm tours around BU. So first off, I'm going to show you a single in Warren Towers. That was what I lived in the previous academic year. Right now I'm living in a suite in 610 Beacon Street, so I'll show you a little bit around that. Alright, so this is my door, and when you walk in, there's a little bit of a hallway area, sort of. It's just kind of like an enclave within the room. But then this is sort of the room overall. It's a little bit messy just because I'm in the process of moving out. But here is that little hallway area. I just kind of keep my shoes there, as well as towels. I brought in this little thing for storage. I keep my camera stuff on there, as well as some other things. This is the closet area. It's a typical Warren closet as of now. I'm not going to show you inside again, just because it's super messy and you won't even be able to tell kind of what's going on there. But again, it's in my other video if you want to see inside. And then you got sort of this vanity and bureau sort of deal. So 4 drawers, they're pretty deep. That's where I store most of my clothes, with the exception of like my hoodies and my dressy stuff. And then you got the mirror and the light. And then you got the bed area. So it's a low bed right now, which is typical in Warren, but with the renovations, they're raising it to a lofted bed, so they're gonna have storage under it as well. And then you got some more posters and stuff up and around. And then this is the desk area. So this desk is a little bit smaller than the ones in the doubles in Warren. It's not quite as deep, and the storage space is a little different, but it depends on what tower you're in. I know in C Tower last year, I had a different sort of shelf going on, so there was more storage space up there. So this desk space was pretty good, honestly. I could fit a lot of stuff there. So you can't tell what my view is at all right now because they're doing construction and they wrapped the tower, so it's just scaffolding right now. But I had a good view throughout the year, and I'll put in a picture of it. But those drawers and the desk area is great. One of my favorite things though was this ledge. I love this ledge. And I fit my TV over there. I had a comment in one of my last videos of someone saying like, I hope that's not your final TV placement, but I just kept it there throughout the year. I can understand how in the daytime that would suck with the light coming in, but I was never really in my room during the day, and definitely not watching anything on TV during the day. So during the night I could leave the window open or close the blinds. And then I just got some more decorations over here. That's pretty much it. Alright, so it's much later, a few months have passed, and I'm pretty comfortably settled into my dorm in 610 Beacon Street. And honestly, I can say it's probably the nicest place I've lived on campus. I may be biased because there's air conditioning in here and it's the summer, so it's not as brutal as some of the other dorms I've lived in over the summer, but regardless, it's still really nice. So I live in a 7-person suite, but right now only 4 people live in it, which is really nice. The suite consists of 2 doubles and 3 singles, and I live in a double, but I don't have a roommate, so it's kind of like having an extra big single, which is great. The suite has 2 bathrooms, so that shakes up to about 3 or 4 people per bathroom, which is really nice because you're not going to have to really compete for a sink or a shower or anything like that. However, just as a little bit of a disclaimer, I do want to share that within 610 Beacon Street, all the suites are kind of different. So what I'm showing you within my suite is not uniform across the entire building. For example, a lot of suites do not have this many people living in them, or this many bedrooms, or this many bathrooms. And also, one last thing before I actually get into the tour, just to avoid any confusion, 610 Beacon Street is this dorm, but up until about a year or 2 ago, it was named Miles Standish Hall. So it's still kind of colloquially known as that among students especially. Not so much the administrative side, they've kind of fully adapted the name 610. But if you hear students or even me referring to this building as Miles throughout the video or on campus, it's the same thing. But anyway, that's enough of me talking. Let's just get into the tour. I'm going to show you most of the suite. I'm obviously not going to show you the other bedrooms within here because I don't want to violate my roommate's privacy. And again, we have 2 bathrooms. One of them's pretty vacant. I'm going to show you that one because I don't want to have to show you all my roommate's stuff. I would feel kind of weird about that. This is the dorm from the outside. And then when you walk in, there is a bathroom on your left, and then down to the right are all the rooms, and another bathroom around that corner. So just an idea of what the bathroom looks like. It's like mirror space, sink, some storage. There's more storage in there, but there's stuff in there, so I'm not going to show you that. And then you get a bathroom with shower and a toilet. So it's nice because this is partitioned off, so say someone's in there, you can still use the sink. And then coming down here, you have all the different rooms and stuff. Here's the other bathroom. You have a communal closet here. And then over here is my room. So it's pretty spacious, as you can see. Pretty nice, actually. My roommate's side is on this side. I don't have a roommate, but I still kind of made it up so it wouldn't look super vacant and weird when I was in here. It's a little bit dark, so I'm gonna put the lights on, but typically I don't really have them on. But just to make it easier to see, I'm gonna have them on. So over here, I have this shoe rack that I got. It's really nice, I can fit all my shoes and stuff. I didn't actually buy this. Someone had thrown it out after they had moved out and just left it there, so I took it. And then for storage, you have these two big armoire dressers types of deal. So on top, there is kind of a big open space with a bar on top that you can hang stuff off of. And then there are two drawers underneath that. So this is my side. I'll show you kind of what it looks like on the inside. It's pretty spacious. It's more spacious than it looks. When I moved into this room, I was pretty nervous because it didn't look like there's that much storage space. But I was able to fit all of my long sleeve and stuff that I hang. And then still there's a shelf on top that there's a decent amount of room in. And then underneath that as well, there's more storage space. It's a little bit tighter and it's not really necessarily intended for that, but I'm still able to shove stuff down there. And then underneath that, there are two drawers. I only use the top one. I just keep my pants in here. And I actually don't use the bottom one. So this is what it looks like empty. And it actually goes pretty deep, which is nice. Then this is my desk area. It's pretty spacious. It's not quite as big as the Warren desks. It doesn't go quite as deep. But there's still a good amount of space. I can't always fit everything I need, but it's still pretty solid. So I have some stuff up there. There's a bulletin board on the back of it, and then a shelf on top where you can keep some stuff. And then you have this small drawer here, which is thin, but it goes back pretty far. And then you have three drawers here. So on top, I have school supplies and stuff. The drawer under that, I have some arts and crafts stuff and random things. And then that's my junk drawer. That's the biggest drawer by far, but I am just not going to show you that because it's a junk drawer. You're not going to be able to see anything. But that's the desk area. It's nice. And something that's really nice about these desks is that they have a built-in overhead light, which is uncommon in buildings like Warren or West, but it is kind of common in some of the renovated buildings such as Kilachand or 610. Moving over here, you have the first of the windows. I really like these windows. They're very large and they open like this. So you can open them pretty wide, get some fresh air, get a nice breeze if it's not too hot out. And you also get a pretty good view down here. A lot of the view is of other people's rooms, but if you're at the right angle, you can usually see the sunset and some of the greenery, which is nice. And then coming over here, you have my bed area, which is a lofted bed, which is different from Warren, at least prior to the renovation. And this is actually a really sneaky way to have a lot of storage. So I have a bunch of junk in there, as you can see, but there's also that dresser down there. And then on top, I put up a bunch of posters. Not as many as I typically have during the year, but I didn't want to deal with the hassle of putting them all up just to take them down pretty quickly. And then I put a nightstand over here, so I just have my cameras on there and some books and a lamp, which is nice because when these overhead lights are off, it gets pretty dark in the room. So it's a nice way to be able to put some extra light right next to the bed if I'm reading before bed or something like that. And then here's this dresser. This is where I keep the majority of my clothes. So this top drawer is where I keep like pajamas and socks and stuff. The blanket's getting a little bit in the way, but anyway. And then down here, I keep shirts, and in the bottom, I keep pants and like sweatpants and gym shorts and stuff like that. This is the entirety of the side of my room. And I really like it. I think it's great. Come over here, you have the second window, and they have these nice sort of ledges underneath them that you could probably put stuff on. I'm sure if I were here during the full year, I would do that. But pretty nice views. The window is not super clean, so you can't totally see everything that's going on, but you get a nice view of the street. And also, I'm on a lower floor, but if you're on a higher floor, you'd probably get a view of the river or some nicer areas downtown. And coming over here, you have my roommate's side of the room. Obviously, I don't have a roommate, but I still kind of did it up a little bit. So I have a TV over there, and then I just kind of made the bed. But I'm not using this dresser, these drawers, or this dresser either. So that's kind of the entirety of the room. Here's a 360 of it. And this is what the room looks like with the lights off. I typically have the overhead lights off and just have the LEDs on, the desk lights on, and then my lamp on. That's more kind of an accurate representation of the room looks like at dusk or at night. So I guess I'll just spend a little bit of time talking about what I liked and disliked about this specific dorm, the suite, and the building overall. So one of my biggest things that I was nervous about before moving in here was the amount of storage space. Having previously lived in Warren, those spaces were really nice because they had shelves and closets built into the actual walls, so there was a lot of storage space around. Whereas a building like 610 has freestanding bureaus and dressers, which to me at least seemed like less space for all my stuff, and I'm a person who has a lot of stuff, so I was nervous about being able to fit it all, but I was really pleasantly surprised. I was able to fit all of my stuff in here, no problem, and even if I had a roommate, I still would have been able to fit everything. Another one of the huge benefits of this space, especially living here in the summer, is the air conditioning and the temperature control. I've lived in Warren Towers in the summer, I've also lived in South Campus, and both of those would get so hot, you would just cook. It would be hard to sleep at night because it would be 90 degrees and humid some nights, and you'd wake up in a puddle of sweat. This is glorious. I mean, this is really, really nice. You can kind of see the AC unit running up above my head here. That's kind of temperature controlled. To my understanding, we can't actually control it, but it's regulated by the temperature of the room. So there's kind of a level that the room is expected to be, and it either pumps hot or cold air into the room depending on that. And I found it really nice. It's not that loud. It does get a little bit cold just because I sleep directly under it, but I have a blanket and it's fine. It's kind of weird sleeping with a blanket in the summer. That's very unlike any experience I've had on campus thus far. As for the building itself, it's a really nice building. It's a renovated hotel, but it's been at BU for a little bit. It consists of, during the academic year, of about 750 students. There's not as many students living here right now, so that might skew my perspective a little bit, but I really like kind of the community here. It has a really nice collegiate feel. There's a bunch of different rooms within the building that are nice and aren't necessarily in a lot of the other dorms on campus. There's a big kitchen on the first floor, so there's always people cooking up something really good in there. It's funny, you walk to the elevators and you can smell it, it's great. There's also a gaming room, so like a pool table, ping pong table, a few other games like that, and then there's also a room right next to that with a big TV and a Nintendo Switch, so that's really nice. Something that's really great about this building is that there's ample study space. There's common rooms on every floor, but on the first floor and on the basement, there are rooms that are just for studying or hanging out with friends or whatever you want to do. And there's a lot of them, so it's not like within Warren, if you're trying to get a room to yourself, it's not as hard as that. Also, in the basement, there's music rooms and stuff like that. There's also a really big laundry room on the first floor. It's probably about the same size as the laundry room in Warren, which is nice because, again, it's servicing less people. So, at least in my experience, I've never had to wait for a washer or dryer, where sometimes in Warren I've had to wait a bit. I also really like the location of 610, not as much as I like the location of something like Warren or something that's on Central Campus, but I do like this location, especially in the summer. I think during the academic year when it can get colder or you have to be up really early in the morning consistently, it could be a little bit challenging because it's very far on East Campus. It almost is off campus. It's within Kenmore Square. You're about a 3-minute walk from Marciano Dining Hall and then like a 10-minute walk to Cass and Central Campus where a lot of stuff is going on. About like 5 to 7 minutes from the business school, probably 8 or 9 minutes from the College of Communication. West Campus, honestly, especially like the gym or the dining hall, can be close to like 30 minutes. So that can be pretty frustrating, especially in the extreme heat or the extreme cold. The good news is there is a T-stop right outside. It's the Kenmore T-stop on the Green Line. It's a really nice location because the Kenmore T-stop splits off into 3 different lines. So there's the B line that BC's on and the rest of BU is on, and there's a C line and there's the D line. None of the other stops on BU campus go to those other lines. You would have to take the line back to Kenmore and then out again. So having that kind of flexibility there is really nice. I've never had that. And then just to kind of geographically position you around some other things in the city, 610 is about a 10-minute walk from the Fenway area, a 10-15 minute walk from Newberry Street. Obviously you're right outside Kenmore, but if you're going downtown, it's much closer than some of the rest of campus, so that's great. But yeah, this dorm is really great. I've really enjoyed living here. I don't know if I would necessarily choose it again out of all the other options that there are, just because of the location, and also maybe I'd want to pick a place with a kitchen, but this is still a really good steal. I know a lot of sophomores and juniors kind of pick it, and it makes sense. It's definitely a step up from Warren or some of the places on West. As always, thank you for watching this video. I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions about the dorm or anything else on campus, please reach out. I'm happy to chat and talk. After this video, at least for a little bit, I'm gonna try to deviate from some of the college content because that's all I've really been posting, and it's kind of been the same video over and over again. I'm gonna try to take the rest of the summer to post about some other things that I'm passionate about, see what else is of interest to me and the viewer, obviously. So if there's anything you want to see, please reach out, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in whatever comes next.